Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Welcome back to Audrey's Designs. It's Audrey here and you are highly welcome. If today is your first time coming across this channel, please do not forget to hit on the subscribe button. Also turn on post notifications so that you'll get notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Thank you. Today, we are going to be sewing an amazing suit gown. As you can see, a very gorgeous one. I love the gown, so I decided to do a tutorial on it. And if you like it too, then you can learn the process and know it once and for all. With that, let's just jump straight into the video. For this gown, this is the fabric I'm going to be using. This is the main fabric which is found everywhere. And then for the facings and the bow tie that I have in front, I'm going to be using this other fabric that you can see. So I'll just go now straight on to place my fabric down and start cutting the outfit. I've gone ahead to place my fabric the way I need to place it in order to start drawing. As you can see, this is it. This fabric doesn't have a good and a bad side, so any side is just okay. But if they're worse, then you send your good side inside and place the bad side outside. Now we'll go ahead to see the measurements of this gown. We need the length, the waist, the bust, the hips, and the sleeves length and sleeves round. So I'll go now straight on to drawing. For the length of this gown, I have a measurement of 37 inches. So I'll be placing 38 at the bottom of my fabric here, and I go up to mark. Now from my shoulder point, which I've marked, to my bust point, I have 9 inches. From my bust point down to my waist, I'll mark on 17 inches. And finally, my hips, I'll be marking the point on 25 inches. Then I'll go ahead to use my ruler to draw the lines out clearly. My shoulder, I have 15 inches, so I'll go on to divide it by 2. That will give me 7.5. Then I mark, and then I add half an inch for my sewing allowance. On my bust, I have a bust of 35 inches. I divide by 4, and that's going to give me 8 3/4. I mark, then I go on to add my 1 inch for my sewing allowance. For my waist, I have a waist of 27 inches. So I'll divide by 4. When I divide by 4, it's going to give me 7 3/4. I'll mark, then I add 1 inch for my sewing allowance. And at the hips, I have a hip of 39 inches. So I'm going to divide by 4, which is going to give me 9 3/4. I mark, then I go on to add my 1 inch for my sewing allowance. The next thing I'll do is to connect these 3 points. Now moving on to the bottom of my fabric, I measure what I have at the hips. It has given me 11 inches, so I'll come to the bottom and I'll place 10 inches, and then I mark. I go ahead to use my ruler and I connect the 2 points as well. Then I'll go on to do my shoulder curve, which is just simply drawing a line and curving it inwards. For the slant at my shoulder, I'll measure 1 inch, and then I'll go on to use my ruler and slant it. Now I'll go on to cut this as I've already drawn it out. I've gone ahead to place my fabric so that I can bring out the back part. So I'll just take the front part and place on it. I do not keep any zipper allowance. After placing, I go up to my shoulder and I mark an additional 2 inches. So I'll go on, place 2 inches from the end point of my front part, and then I'll mark it out. So this is it. I'll just go on to follow this line as I cut. Now I want to bring out the neckline behind. So what I'll do is that I'll place 2.5 inches here. That will be the size. And for the depth, I'm going to place 1.5 inch. So I'll just go on now to draw. As you can see, it's very tiny. It doesn't need to be too large. I'll go on to cut. Now I'll move on to cut the sleeves of this dress. I've placed my fabric the way I should in order to draw out my sleeves. So for the sleeves length, I have 23 inches, so I'll be placing it on 24.5 inches. That I'm adding 1.5 inch for my sewing allowance. After marking the point of 24.5 inches, I'll go now to place the sleeves round. For the sleeve round, I have 5.5 inches. I have 11. When I divide, it gives me 5.5. So I'll mark my 5.5 and I put my 1 inch for sewing allowance. Down at the bottom, that's at the wrist, I have 7 inches. So this is 7 inches divided by 2 gives me 3.5, and I add 1 inch for sewing as well. Then I'll go on to connect the two lines. After connecting, I'll come up here and I'll draw the way I'm supposed to draw. After drawing, this is it. I'll just go now on to cut the sleeve out. Since I've cut just one sleeve, I'll place it on the second one and cut the second exactly the same. I do not want to cut the two at once because the material is too thick and it'll be difficult to cut it out. So right now, I'm going on to cut the second sleeve. I've gone ahead to place the fabric which I'll be using as a lining. In case you're wondering, it's doll face. This is the shining part which is going to be in front, or rather going to be showing, while this is the part that is going to be inside. So now I'll just place the front part on it and I'll go on to cut. I'll also go on to do the same thing for the back part. I'm moving on now to cut the bow which I have in front. And as you can see, it's a very large bow. So I've placed my fabric, I folded into two so that I'll have the front section and the back section. Then for the length of this bow, I've placed it on 30 inches. So this is 30 right here. I'll be cutting at this point. While for the size of this bow, I've placed it on 15 inches. So I'll just go now on to cut it as you see. So this is my bow. When I'm going to make it, this is how it is going to come out to be like. This is the frontal section of my gown, as you can see. So I want to go on to bring out the neckline. I kept it to this point because I want to bring out for the lining and for the top at once. So I'll go on to place it on 12 inches. This is 12 inches. Then I'll go on and mark the point where 12 inches is. I come to the side and I just cut it down till the point where I've marked. And I do the same on the lining. And with that, I'm done bringing out all the parts that I need to stitch this gown. I'll just go on now to the process of stitching it. To begin stitching this gown, the first thing I have to do is to place my doll face on the fabric, like to stitch it around so that it's going to be smooth all around, the same as I do whenever I'm lining cloth. So this is the fabric that I've already cut, and this is the doll face. I'll just go on to stitch it now as you watch the process. It's not difficult. Basically, you're stitching everywhere except this neckline that we see here. So I'll just go on to stitch it all around, good side facing good side, then I turn it. I'll show you the process. So this is what I've done. I've just gone ahead and stitch it all around, as you can see, except at this point. The distance from here to here is 1¼ of an inch. Then I'll have this space that I can use now to turn it to the good side. So I'll just go ahead now to turn the fabric to the good side, because like I said, you sew it good side facing good side, and when you're done sewing, you turn to the other side. This process that I've done is the same thing that I'll be doing for the back part and for the sleeves. So I'll just go ahead right now to do the same thing for both. If you have seen this one, then you can follow suit to place it on the other ones. If you turn the other side, you see that we have our doll face here, and if you turn on this side, you see that we have the main fabric. So I'll go on to do the same thing for the other parts of the top of the gown that I left. These are all the parts of the gown which I've already placed my double face on it. This is the front section. As you can see, this is the one that I showed when I was doing. And for the other sections, I just chose to go with my normal suit lining. As you can see, it's a little bit different from this one because it's preferable for me, and it's also not going to show on the frontal section. For this front part, I had to do this doll face because when I'll turn in the neckline, it's going to be showing. But for this one, which is on the sleeves and on the back part of this dress, it doesn't really matter. You could put a doll face as well as you could put this normal lining. This suit lining is very good and is what I prefer. So right now, I'm going to go on to hold the dart of this dress. I'll just show you how I draw it, and then I'll go onto my machine and sew. For the dart, I'm going to be demonstrating on the back part of the gown. As you can see, this is the back part. So first of all, what I do is that I fold it into 3. So this is it. I already folded it with my iron so that it'll be easier. So if it's difficult for you, you can just use your iron to iron it on it so that the lines are going to remain on one position. And after doing that, then I go ahead to do my markings. From the top, which is on the neck here, I come down by 9 inches. So this is 9 inches here. I'll mark, and then at the bottom, I'm going to end on 23 inches. So this is my end point, and this is my starting point. Then after that, I'm going to go on to draw the shape that I want the dart to have. And here, what I'll be doing is I'll take half an inch here, just half an inch. So this is half an inch. Then I'll go down with the line to come and meet at this point at the edge of the fabric. So from half an inch, I'll just go down like this in a V shape, and up I'll also come in a V shape. After drawing my V shape line, I'll also go to the other side, which I folded inwards. I also marked 9 inches from the top, which is here. I mark at the end, which is on 23 inches. I mark as well. I mark half an inch here. Then I do my V line. So this is it. This is what I have. So you can see that the line comes at the edges and gets missing. Right here, it's half an inch. I'll just go now on to sew this line, and it's the same thing that I'm going to be doing on the front section, so there's no need to show that. I'll just sew the lines and show them to you when I'm done. This is what it looks like on the back side. This is the back part, and this is what it looks in front. So right now what I want to do is to join the shoulders so that I can insert my collar, because I like inserting the collar before joining the gown. So I'll just go on to join the neckline, insert the collar before joining the sides of the gown. For the neckline, it's very simple. I just take, like, this is the front part and this is the back part. I'll just place the two together and then I stitch it so that I can be able to insert my collar. So this is my neckline after I've joined. That's the back part and this is the front. What I'll do next is to go ahead and measure the distance that I'll need for my collar. So I start measuring from this point which I had sewn, and I measure all around. I have 15 inches. That means my collar is going to be on 15 inches. I'll go on right now to insert my collar, but I'll not be showing the process because I assume you already know how to insert a collar, so you just do as you normally do. Or if not, then I'll film a video afterwards showing how we do the collar. This is the collar which I've sewn already. You can see how it looks like. So after I'm done with my collar, I'll go now on to join the sides of this gown. The bust of this gown is on 35 inches. So I divide by 2. It's going to give me 17.5. So I place on my top, and what I have here is 19 inches. So I know 19.5 inches. So I know I'm going to be bringing out 1 inch on both sides. For the waist, I have 27 inches. When I divide 27, it's going to give me 13.5. And what I have here is 16.5. So I'm going to be bringing out 1.5 inch on both sides. On the hips, I have 40 inches. And when I place my tape on the hip, I'm having 21, because when I divide by 2, it's going to give me 20. That means I'll be doing 1/2 inch on both sides. And whatever I do on the hip, I'll just use it and continue down. That means below at the bottom, I'm going to be having 1/2 inch as well. So this is my line drawn out already. I'll just go on to follow this line and stitch, and I'll draw the same on this other side and stitch it as well. And this is it. The sides are stitched. So I have to stitch the slips of this top as well. This is one sleeve. I'll just be demonstrating on one. I also use the same method that I used. My sleeve round at the wrist, I had 7 inches. When I divide by 2, it's going to give me 3.5. So I go on and I mark 3.5. While up here, I had 5.5. So I'm going to be marking 5.5 up. And now for this armhole here, I don't use any measurement, but rather I come to my top, to my gown. That's a big section, and this distance here, I'm going to measure it right now. So this is it. I'll just go on to measure, and it has given me 9 inches. So I'll come here and measure 9 inches as well. So 9 inches is at the very last tip that you can see there. So after marking it, I'll just go now on to mark downwards like this, and then I'll go and sew, then stitch it to the dress. I'll do the same for both sleeves. This is the sleeve already sewn, as you can see, and this is the top which I had joined earlier. So what I do now first is that you come to the joint, that's this joint which is moving down, and I open it like this. Make sure that your dress is on the back side. Then you just open this point where the joint is. Then I come to my sleeve, the point which I have this joint going down, I open it up. It's also on the back side, and I place the two together. After placing the two together, I'll just go on now to sew a line all round. So I'll be sewing like this. I'll sew a line all around till I meet again at the point where I started, and that's basically it for fitting of the sleeve. I fitted in the sleeves. This is what I have. As you can see, I've already fitted in both sleeves, so I can say I'm practically almost done with this dress. The last thing that I'll have to do is to insert the beautiful design that we have in front. So I'll just turn the dress now to the good side before I insert the design. But before I do that, I want to iron this out so that it will look a little bit more smooth. For the design which I have in front, this is the fabric I'm going to be using. It's just a square. What I've done is that I've sewn it all round, so and then turned it to the good side. And then you can see how it looks. It's just a simple square. This was the space that I kept to turn it to the good side. Then this is what I have as a ribbon that will go around it. And also I put something inside. As you can see, this white stuff that it's inside is stiff, which normally gums on fabric, so I gummed it to make it firmer. And then what I have to do now is just to go on and fold it gently. Then I'm going to put my ribbon around it. So this is what it looks like right now. I'll go on to sew it right now, and then I'll place it on the gown the way you see it in the picture. This is it that I've sewn, and I'm about to place it on the top. So the first thing I'll do is to adjust it properly, and then I'll use my pins to pin it at this point and down below here, and then I'll stitch it. So this is it right now. I'll just go on to stitch it exactly as you see it pinned here. And this is it. After placing my beautiful butterfly in front, I can say I'm done stitching this gown. As you can see, this is how it looks on the picture, and this is how we got it. If you learned something from this video, guys, then please do not forget to give it a thumbs up, a very big thumbs up, and also subscribe to this channel, hit on the notification button, share this video if you wish, and I will definitely see you in my next video. Bye guys.